Most people think that changing their lives requires something really dramatic, but sometimes the difference between someone who feels stuck and unfulfilled and someone who doesn't feel that way is genuinely just having hobbies. It actually upgrades your entire life in so many different ways. You become happier, more validated, more interesting. And let's be honest, people with hobbies are just different. I don't mean that in like, oh, I'm not like other girls type of way. It's not in a pretentious way. It's just like they're cooler. They have this thing about them that makes them so cool, so niche, and I love that. So today we're going to talk about why it is important to have hobbies, how you can actually build hobbies that you genuinely enjoy, because hobbies is not a one size fits all. And in the end, I'm also going to give you a whole list of hobbies that you can try out. I'm also going to tell you which ones I'm currently doing, so you can find some hobbies that genuinely fit you and your life. Now let's get started. So what are the advantages of having hobbies, and why would anyone spend time doing some random stuff? First of all, people who have hobbies tend to show up as a better person. What I mean by that is that they don't crave validation. They're more present, they're less performative, they're usually way less self-conscious. And I feel like this often comes from just having the feeling of belonging somewhere. You know, having your little piece of the world that you are really inspired by and that you maybe share with other people. Also, there's a lot of confidence to be gained from being bad at something and still enjoying it without having to be perfect at it. You build so much confidence from just allowing yourself to enjoy something without it having to lead anywhere. I've often found that the friends of mine who had hobbies were way better people generally. Because you know those people who treat friendships like a transaction, you know, like I have to show up once for you, then you show up once for me. If I text you back, you text me back. It's almost as if they keep a spreadsheet of all of the things that you're doing and it's genuinely just like a transaction-based relationship. Well, people with hobbies are not like that. I have noticed that the worst friends are usually the ones who have no hobbies. And I'm not saying that in order to be intentionally rude, but it's just an objective thing that I've noticed. I find that people who just love doing something for the sake of doing it are so much better than the ones who keep track of favors and of everything that's happening around them in their friendships and in their life. And I feel like having hobbies can help you be fulfilled, fill gaps in your life, and stop treating everything like such a transaction. As a result, it makes you a better friend. I prefer being friends with people who have hobbies. I love listening to them talk about their hobbies. I love hearing all of the little, sometimes weird details about their hobbies. I find it so fascinating. If you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Maria. I make content about how to build a lifestyle that you genuinely enjoy and how to build your dream life and become your best self in the process. So if that's something you're into, make sure to subscribe. And also, if you want to know more, like my day-to-day thoughts, my random thoughts that I sometimes have, subscribe to the newsletter. I promise it's gonna help you, it's gonna motivate you, it's gonna inspire you. It's just a fun thing to see in your inbox every now and then. It's also easier to make friends when you have hobbies because first of all, you might find people who are interested in the same hobbies that you are interested in, and you know, then you can do the hobby together, or you can talk about it, you can share your experience. Or even if you don't find people who do the same hobbies as you, having hobbies makes you a more interesting person to talk to. As a result, you're more likely to make friends because we probably all know those people who are just so bland, like they do nothing, there's nothing like outstanding about them. It's so fun when someone just has a hobby that they can talk about and they genuinely like that thing and you can have a conversation about it. You don't even need to agree on the fact that the hobby is interesting or not. It's just a topic that you can talk about and it's fun. It makes people more interesting and it can make you more interesting if you have a hobby or multiple hobbies that you can share about. Because also when you're making small talk with someone, when you've just met someone for the first time, sometimes people ask, like, what do you like to do in your free time? What is something about you? It's a good conversation starter to have hobbies, to be able to even respond to that question, because otherwise, what are you gonna say? Oh, I like to scroll on my phone in my free time? Like, that doesn't sound great. Come on, like, genuinely, that's not fun. The next thing is something I've already touched on, and that is that people who have hobbies learned that they don't have to be the best in order to enjoy something and in order to be happy. And this, I think, is a very important lesson that can make you more confident. A lot of people look at confidence as if it's something conditional. So they think, if I get prettier, I can finally be confident. If I finally get my dream closet and I can wear things that look better, I can be confident. If I finally get a partner, I can be confident because that suddenly makes me feel whole. or whatever. But one of the most important lessons of confidence is it's not conditional, like it just doesn't show up once you achieve something else. You can be confident without having anything else. You can be confident without having a partner, without having the perfect closet, without looking the best you've ever looked, without even being the most successful or beautiful or intelligent person. You can still be confident. It's just being comfortable in who you are and knowing yourself and showing up, knowing that you are worth everything. You're worth all of the good experiences just because you're you. And I feel like having hobbies can help you train exactly this mindset, because having a hobby will oftentimes show you that you don't have to be good at something. You didn't even have to be anywhere close to good in order to enjoy it. A good example is I cannot paint. I do not have the talent to paint. However, I like colors. I find doing brush strokes very satisfying. It's very calming. It's very relaxing, which is why I do paint my numbers. I also did, wait, let me show you. I also painted this one evening. Like you can see, you know, the paint is not perfect, but through doing things like this, you can teach yourself that you don't have to be perfect at something in order to enjoy it. You can be really bad at something and still have the fun of your life. You can have the most amazing evening just painting something that's gonna end up looking really bad. And that's fine. Like you can be bad at something and still give it your all, still show up confidently. I would even argue that sometimes it is necessary to be bad when you have a hobby, because trying to be perfect and trying to be the best at everything all of the time is the easiest way and the fastest way to ruin a good hobby. I feel like for me, for instance, this hobby of painting is also very therapeutic, because in a lot of areas of my life, I feel like I have to show up in an extremely composed manner. I need to be perfect. I need to do the best work. I need to make sure that when I'm making videos, I deliver the most value. I cannot have mistakes in them. It can be so tiring. And so actually, I find that having something where I can intentionally be bad is so freeing. Also, if you have active hobbies, like doing sports or even things that have a side effect of being active, I don't know, if you like to collect mushrooms, you kind of have to walk through the forest to get them. So that would also maybe count as an active hobby. It counts for me as an active hobby. Those types of things improve your physical health. And it's important to have active hobbies because working out is not always fun. Let's be honest. You're never always gonna feel extremely motivated when you're going to the gym. However, it is important to stay active. And I feel like having a hobby that is active can really help you. There was a point in my fitness journey where I was so bored of going to the gym every day and like I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't see it anymore. And what I did was I started getting tennis lessons. I was only doing them once a week on the weekend. This made the biggest change in my fitness journey because I started enjoying going to the gym again, because I was also doing something else. I also had this hobby that also kept me active, but was something completely different than going to the gym. And also, even if the hobby is not active, your mental health improves. Having hobbies can help you gain clarity. It also gives you a feeling of accomplishment, even if you're not creating something that's perfect, even if you're not very good at your hobby. It gives you a feeling of joy and calmness, and it also acts as a way to have a break, to have a very necessary time in which you're resting and you're not thinking about work and about like life and goals and all of the things that you need to do. And that's a very necessary productivity break. Also, through the fact that oftentimes we tend to not be extremely good at hobbies, we get a feeling, like a reward feeling, that is so much higher than when we're good at something. When there are things that feel really easy to us, we tend to not get a reward feeling once we complete them. And something I feel like is very important to talk about is you don't get those feelings from scrolling. You don't have any of these positive benefits from just sitting there and scrolling. I have noticed a little conversation going on online about people complaining that they feel extremely tired after work, and so all they do is they get home and they go sit down somewhere and they scroll or they watch Netflix. I'm not saying this to shit on people or to make fun of people. I can totally relate. I've had days where genuinely I feel like I could have slept the second I got home. However, let's be completely honest, you're not gonna feel happier if you spend an hour scrolling. After that 1 hour, you're still gonna feel the same as you did before. But if you decide to change something, if you get home after work and instead of scrolling, you spend an hour doing a hobby, I can guarantee that you're gonna feel better after an hour than if you would have scrolled for an hour. Often it can also feel like we don't have enough time to do our hobbies. However, it is important to put things into perspective. An hour of scrolling or an hour of doing your hobby, what is gonna make you happier? Like genuinely, objectively think about it and then make an informed decision about what you're gonna do with your time. I mean, I know what the answer is. It's always better to do your hobby. And oh my God, I also sometimes get home and I scroll and then I'm always like, why did I scroll? Genuinely. It would have been so much better to do anything else, really. Even just cleaning would be better. But we need to be intentional with our time and make time for our hobbies, even if we feel like it's not worth it in the moment. In the end, it's always worth it. But how do you find the hobby that is actually nice for you? I have to say, this is definitely not a one-size-fits-all. There are so many hobbies. I mean, so many. You can literally do everything. You can be passionate about everything and anything. The most important step to finding your hobby is curiosity. Try out things. Try out the most niche things. There are people who love bird watching. There are people who love train watching. I have a friend who's in a darts club and I think she goes there like every week or twice a week after work. There are people who are into curling. I recently went to the Winter Olympics. I was in Cortina. It was amazing, like amazing. And in Cortina, there was the curling center and I could not believe how many people are into curling. For me, it's never been a thing. Like, I've never watched curling. I just know it's like you slide a rock on a piece of ice. It's fun, right? I mean, there are so many niche hobbies that you can try. You just need to be curious enough to let yourself try things. Also, it's fine to try something once and then decide it's not for you and to stop doing it. I would really recommend joining groups, either in-person groups. Look up what events there are in your city or around your area. You can also join online groups. There are groups about everything. I've recently seen a group about knitting. I also saw a group about, what was it? Badminton technique. Like anything you wish for, you will find it on the internet. The internet is a crazy place, in a good way sometimes. And after you try a bunch of things, the best way to determine if a hobby is for you or not is just to ask yourself, does it make you happier than when you started? Is it genuinely something you can see yourself doing for a longer amount of time? If you don't enjoy something, no need to force yourself to do it. But if you enjoy something, keep at it. Stay consistent with it. That's also a very important part because it's easy to lose sight of our hobbies and to sometimes even forget about them when life gets busy. You need to intentionally make time for your hobbies and be committed to them and sometimes even be disciplined and just, you know, go into your hobby, like schedule in time to have time for your hobby, because otherwise you're gonna skip it one time and then you're gonna skip it the next time and then it just like, it's so easy to forget it. Like I have a half painted paint by numbers drawing somewhere that I haven't touched in like a year. Why? Because it used to be on this table and then I took it away and I forgot to finish it. Ever. I don't know when I'll finish it. And it's a little bit sad because I used to paint literally every single night and it was so nice and so calming. So don't forget about your hobbies. Now let's get into the fun part, which are hobby ideas. I've curated a list of hobbies that are relatively easy, are super fun and also chic. This is what I would personally genuinely try. But again, there are so many hobbies that I cannot even mention them all. This list is not to say that these are the only good hobbies that you can try. There are so many else. These are just the ones that I am personally inclined to do. First of all, explore the science of cooking. Cooking is so fun. I studied nutritional science and I don't think this can be a hobby for me because I think I would take it way too seriously, but it's so interesting to learn about ingredients, about what certain ingredients do. Like for instance, when you make a dough, what is necessary to be in the dough in order for the gluten to actually form? What happens if you substitute regular flour with gluten-free flour? The science of cooking can be so fun. It's gonna make you an amazing chef. You're gonna cook the best home-cooked meals you've ever had. And honestly, it's also just a good life skill because you're gonna have so much knowledge about something that we need to do on a daily basis. We need to eat on a daily basis. Also, explore the science of smell. You can become a chocolate expert or a coffee expert or a cheese expert. I'm always so fascinated by people who can like smell the coffee and then they're, oh yeah, this was grown on an altitude of 2000 meters and it has an acidic, citrusy smell to it. This is Arabica coffee. That's insane in the best way possible. That is insane. That's so impressive. Same with cheese. You know, when someone is like, oh, this cheese pairs really good with this and this wine. I'm like, damn, like, you know your stuff. It's such a fun thing to try. And it's also a hobby that you can actually build on, because so many people offer wine tours or cheese tours or chocolate tours. If you wanted to, you know, share this hobby with other people, you could definitely. While we're at it, kind of adjacent to this, wine tasting. Is this just a really good excuse to drink wine? Maybe. I've been to wine tastings before. They're so fun. I definitely did not do it right. I drank the wine and it was so fun. I love it. It's a fun thing. It's something you can do with friends, and it's something like you don't need to be a snob about it. Also, just to mention this again, to include it in the list, I love paint by numbers. It's so fun. It's basically this pre-drawn drawing where you have the outlines drawn and then you just fill in with color. This is my not yet finished painting. I think this is supposed to be Venice. I got this from Amazon. I'll leave a link to it down below. But basically you can see that every little white space has a number, and I don't know where the paint pots are. Then you have paint pots that also have numbers on them, and so you know exactly which color to use in which space. All you need to do is to basically color in the lines. It's not hard, but it does take a lot of patience. And also you can do actual painting, like free-handed painting, like this one. But why stop at canvases? You can paint on mugs, you can paint on walls, you can paint on windows, you can paint on clothing. Be creative. Hosting dinner parties with a theme. I actually really love hosting. For the past 2 years, I've had a goal of hosting more. I wanted to host a dinner or brunch actually, every 2 months. I did not really reach that goal because I would always be a little bit too late in my planning process, and then, you know, until I would invite the people, it would take forever, blah blah. But I would definitely like doing more of hosting dinner parties or brunch parties or whatever type of hosting you want to do. Start a book club or a film club, or both while you're at it. You know, when you watch a really good movie or you read a really good book and you feel like you need to share this with someone, like you need to have someone that you can discuss theories with, and you want to hear what other people think of a certain scene in the movie or in the book. Sometimes you just want to talk to someone else about books or movies. And I personally love, for instance, going to Goodreads to look at how other people liked a book after I read it. Not in order to let them influence my opinion of the book, but in order to see like, how did other people perceive this book? Sometimes I have the feeling that the author meant something else in a certain scene. It's just really fun to connect with people over a shared interest. And if there's no book club or movie club you can join in your area, why not start it yourself? Obviously, reading more and watching movies, especially old movies. I don't know if it's just me. I grew up watching a lot of black and white movies. I watched all the Charlie Chaplin movies, all Miss Marple movies. I love them, and I kind of just miss watching them. Not to complain, there are amazing new movies and series being made, but some of the old movies give me such a nostalgic feeling and such a feeling of like, it's so impressive that back then they could make those movies with the limited equipment that they had, and you know, they made such crazy special effects. Like, think about Star Wars, you know, they had such little equipment and made such incredible visuals with what they had. I find that really fascinating. Interior decor, also DIYing. My For You page on TikTok is now full of people who are DIYing things, and I also want to DIY stuff. I don't know what, but I need to DIY something. You can make so many things out of nothing. You can make such cute coffee tables out of literal scraps. It's amazing, it's incredible, and it's a really good reminder that in order to have a nice looking, like amazing looking apartment, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on designer furniture, because you can do a lot of it yourself, or you can also just buy something, or buy something that's already used off of like Facebook Marketplace or just from someone's front porch and DIY it, restore it, repaint it, to just make it fit your aesthetic. That's amazing. Next, I feel like this is a little bit subjective. It's very strongly influenced by the fact that this was one of my first hobbies that I started as an adult. I mean tennis. This was the first thing that I did where I was like to start doing something that I've never done before and I can allow myself to be bad at it. And let me tell you, I'm really not great at tennis. However, I've definitely improved. I've definitely gotten better. And this has been such a fun thing to do because I went from not even being able to hit the balls to being able to play a few good shots. You know, I can hold my own a little bit. Another very subjective one because this was one of my favorite things growing up. And I feel like the older I get, the more I miss it. I used to do skiing and I used to do slalom, so it was highly technical skiing. I remember that I used to be so annoyed at the training sessions and you know, it was always cold, but it was so fun. Skiing, like learning proper technical skiing can be so fun. It's incredible what you can do with 2 little planks on your feet. I absolutely love it. I also used to compete. Like I miss those days so much. I've genuinely debated getting back into like actual proper training because it's so fun. Also watching the Olympics, you know, it's incredible. And also literally any other sports. What I've tried the past year or 2 years has been golf. I find it a little bit boring, but it can be fun. I've tried aerial Pilates, whatever that was, jumping Pilates. Yeah, it's fun. I've tried calisthenics. That's something I would definitely continue doing. I've started running. I started going to the gym. Okay, that was longer ago. I've started gardening. I've never been a plant person, but a coworker actually recommended me some plants that are harder to destroy. And so I got those and they're growing, they're flourishing. Wait, this is not a sport. I got off track. Paddle boarding, like stand-up paddling. That's so fun. On a river, on the ocean. So fun. I love stand-up paddling. Honestly, I think that's it. For sure, there are some sports that I've missed. I would definitely try surfing. I want to go on more hikes. I want to maybe try rock climbing. I really like doing those adventure climb parks, whatever they're called, where you go from like one tree to the other. There are so many sports you can try. Also writing letters, just for the sake of writing letters, because honestly I would love to get a letter from someone. Also relating to this, calligraphy, like learning how to write really nicely. I find it so impressive when people can write really nicely in that like handwritten font. Love it. Creating tea blends. This might make you feel like a little, you know, like you're doing a little sorcery, you're brewing a potion. I've always wondered how tea blends are created, like who decides which plants to put in there and how you put the plants in there, like how does that work? I find it super fun. And you can also drink your tea, like you get to have the tea afterwards. A win is a win, you know? Also, this is very like dark academia coded, which I love. Binding books. There's a book, a German book called Tintenherz, where the father of the main character is a book binder. And to me, this is just such a magical thing. It always brings me back to that book, but it seems so magical and so cool. I mean, I've never done it. I'm definitely down to try it. I'm thinking like how hard can it be? And also plus point, if you bind your own books, you get to have the most aesthetic, extremely aesthetic bookshelf. Who doesn't want that? Also, pottery. So many people are doing pottery. There are so many pottery classes. Also, I've heard people doing pottery and drink, or also paint and drink. It's fun. Try it. Like look up activities in your area. I think that you'll find so many pottery things. Candle making, same thing, except you don't actually need to go to a studio for this. I saw that you can buy candle making sets from Amazon, and so you can just do this at home. Also, this is a perfect gift for someone. You can make them their own scented candle in their favorite color, and it's such a cute gift. Also such a cute decor idea. Same with making lip glosses. Genuinely, I think you can get a starter set from Amazon. It's a great gift, and you can also use it yourself because who doesn't love lip glosses? Like genuinely. Also photography and videography. Obviously, this I feel like is a hobby of mine. I love taking photos. I love making videos, not just for the internet to see. I mean, obviously as well, but also just for myself. Such a good way to keep memories, to remember nice moments, to also remember not so nice moments. Embroidery. This is actually something I used to do in school. I was in an embroidery club where we genuinely embroidered the like cultural clothing that our dancing club would use. And I can tell you, embroidery is not that difficult. You just need to learn a few stitches and you can embroider so many things. It's a really easy hobby. Like all you need is yarn and needle. I think that's it. And last but not least, writing. This can lead you in so many directions. You can start a Substack, you can start your own newsletter, you can ghostwrite for someone, you can write a book, you can just write for yourself. There's so many things you can do with this. And this is also something that can help you keep memories. You know, you can write about current things that are happening, moments that you're currently going through, feelings that you're having. And in a couple years or days or weeks, months, you can look back at what you've written and remember the moment. Such a beautiful hobby and such a nice thing to do. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know which hobbies you are trying or what your favorite hobbies are, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.